All right, here we go. We have Compton royalty in the building. Brandon Jennings, welcome to Vlad TV.
What's up, Vlad, man? Thank you for having me, man. This is dope.
Well, mate, we hooked up at Gil's Arena.
Yeah.
When I was a guest on there, we chopped it up, made plans to do it, and here we are.
Yes, here we are.
Long-time fan, man, especially being from California.
Thank you.
Definitely saw the come up and, what you accomplished. So this is definitely an honor to do this.
Oh, thank you, man. Thank you.
Well, your first time here. So you grew up in Compton.
Yeah, Compton, Los Angeles. Me and my mom, we moved around a lot when I was young. So I lived in Carson. I grew up in Double Rock Baptist Church. It was in Compton. So it was right across the street from Tragnew Park where Venus and Serena used to, play all the time. So I was definitely a church boy growing up.
Okay. Now, where was your father during this time?
My father, so my mom and my dad met in church at Double Rock Baptist Church.
Okay.
They said my dad had all the ladies. He was like, doing his thing. So yeah, they had me, and then my dad passed when I was 8 years old.
Damn.
Yeah, so then after that, that's when I really became like the man of the house.
Okay. 8 years old, that's young, but you still have memories. You remember playing with your dad as a kid and everything?
Yeah. One thing about my dad, he used to always keep me fresh. Right? Yeah, so my mom used to always say, like, anytime I go outside and play anything, like, he would make sure I had a new outfit and everything like that. So I think that's why my style is the way it is.
Okay, so why were you guys moving from city to city? This is like before high school?
Yeah, this is before high school. So after my dad passed, my mom met someone else.
Okay.
And they ended up having I ended up having a brother.
Okay.
So that's how we moved to Carson, and then that's how I went from Carson to Gardena. During that time. So
okay. Gardena and Compton are fairly close together, so it's not like you're way out the way.
Yeah.
Okay, so growing up in Compton in the 2000s, now, were you outside? Were you getting into trouble at all, or were you just like a good kid, a church kid, a basketball kid the whole time?
So we lived in Compton until I was 3, and then we moved to Carson because I lived with my stepdad. Mm-hmm. So I was living in Carson a lot. So Cal State Dominguez, went to Leapwood, went to Curtis Middle School up in Carson. So I spent a lot of time in Carson. Mm-hmm. Then once I became like really good at basketball around like 10, 11 years old, then we started to make our way towards Orange County.
Oh, okay. So at 10, 11, is that when you fully started to realize what you had?
That's when my talent really started taking off.
Uh-huh.
Then by the time I was 12, 13, we were living in Orange County permanently.
Okay. What did your mom do to really kind of build that skill at that point?
So my mom was like more of a hustler, right? Like she knew how to, she knew how to talk her way through things. And she knew my talent was very special. So, that was all she had. So, this was her way out of the hood, just like any other parent. And she knew that I was very good at basketball. So she wanted to make sure I was in the best positions.
Okay, so by the time high school comes around, first you went to Dominguez High School.
Yes.
But then you transferred to Oak Hill Academy in Virginia.
Yes.
Junior and senior years. So you went way across the country.
Yeah.
Because that was a legendary school.
Yeah, Dominguez, the home of Tyson Chandler, Tayshaun Prince.
Right.
Yeah.
But Oak Hill is a legendary school as well.
Yes, they are.
Even more so.
Yeah.
So how did that really work? Because, Oak Hill Academy, is that a private school?
Yes, it's a private school, and we had to go to school, and we had Saturday schools.
Okay.
Yeah. So Oak Hill, you couldn't leave campus for like the first 3 months. We couldn't leave campus. We had to go to church every Sunday. Every other weekend, we had Saturday school, and we had to wear a uniform every day and live on campus.
Right. And Kevin Durant was playing there before you?
Yes, Kevin Durant, Ty Lawson, Josh Smith, Rajon Rondo, Steven Jackson, Steve Blake, Rod Strickland, Jerry Stackhouse. Yeah. Right,
because when you were at Dominguez, you were getting scouted by everybody.
Yes.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
So Oak Hill reached out and said, hey, we'll fly you out. We'll give you a free tuition.
No, actually, I reached out to Oak Hill.
Oh, you did?
Yeah,
okay.
Because I just felt like the talent in L.A. really wasn't that good at that time.
In L.A.?
Yeah, L.A., yeah.
Okay.
So, I was the number one player in the country. So, everything is coming easy to me. So, I just felt like the way my AAU schedule was when I played with Kevin Love. Me and Kevin Love played AAU together at SCA, one of the greatest AAU basketball programs ever. Mm-hmm. And so I saw the way that we were playing, so I wanted more competition, and I feel like Oak Hill was going to be able to provide that.
Okay, so here you are, an LA kid, and you've been there your whole life, different cities, but all in the same overall region. Now you're going to Virginia,
Yeah.
whole different part of the country, with no friends,
No.
starting all over again. Mm-hmm. And it kind of messed you up in the beginning.
Yes, it did.
Yeah.
Man, well, I was an LA kid, so I was used to having my way. So, meeting Steve Smith for the first time and going to Oak Hill, and then you get in that gym and you see Carmelo Anthony's jersey, Kevin Durant, all these guys that came here, and you see that you got a lot to prove. But, I'm still coming cocky because, I'm Brandon Jennings, and the first day I meet Nolan Smith, and Nolan Smith let me know what time it was, and it was a different type of time that I wasn't even on at that time. And Nolan Smith was just on another level.
Yeah. He became your mentor.
Yes.
Right. So you get there and you start doing your thing.
Yeah.
Now, you're 6'1".
Yeah, 6'1".
So you're not short in terms of, humans in general. Like I'm like 6'1", 6'2". So I understand we're taller than most people. But in the basketball world, you're not that tall.
Right.
So did you have a growth spurt at some point in junior high, high school, and then it stopped, or?
Nah, so what happened was, right, so that's how good I was. So remember when I said I was playing my mom's rent at 11? So by the 10th grade, my mom had got probably like $250,000 for my career. So this is when the Home Depot Centers opened up in Carson, and I'm up there doing cross training. And I'm doing cross training with some of the greatest athletes in the world. This is 2006, right? And these I'm training with kids that are getting ready for the Olympics. So I'm working on my body, I'm working on my strength, I'm learning how to cold tub and all these things, different things. So by the time, I got to Oak Hill, I was ready. By the time the summer, I was dunking, my vertical was high. So a lot of that came from, an early investment.
Right. What age did you actually start dunking? Because I remember I looked through your high school mixtape and you were dunking all over the place in high school.
Ninth grade.
Ninth grade?
Yeah, ninth grade.
So that's freshman year, right?
Yeah, freshman year.
So freshman year, and how tall were you at that point? Like 6 feet?
Probably 5'11".
5'11".
Yeah.
You were dunking at 5'11".
Yeah, 5'11".
I'm sure people were losing it.
Yeah, it was different, and a lefty.
Okay, now you touched on this. Now you have NIL deals.
Yeah.
But you were getting NIL deals before they were actually NIL deals.
Yeah.
So originally, where did the money come from?
Investors. People who, saw talent and wanted to invest in talent. At first, when we were 11, I had a guy by the name of Dave Panko. He died a long time ago, so God rest his soul. But he was one of the first guys to take me and my mom in. He saw my talent early, played for South Coast All-Stars. Me and DeMar DeRozan, we was on that team. We won a national championship. And but this guy, Dave, man, I guess he just took a liking into me, me and my mom, and he moved us out to Orange County. I was going to St. Anne's. This private school up in Orange County where you had to pay tuition like $20,000. Like me and my brother, like we're at a school, like, we could barely do this classwork. But, my mom is finding these different ways through, these people that loved us. And, that's what kind of got it all started,
Well, right, because you can't actually legally invest
right.
into a high school or a junior high player.
No.
You can't sign a deal with the mom or with the kid.
Oh, yeah. No.
You're doing this under the table, hoping that maybe at one point your investment will pay off. But a lot of times you see these situations, like Reggie Bush, where you got these, local D-boys that put money into it. And then, they grow up and they get their own agent. They don't remember who that guy is and so forth. So these people that were investing, were they expecting something back eventually?
Yeah, for sure. And they were very professional about it. So, this wasn't like, no D-boys. These are, people that, that was just around that could very help and that did great business.
Right. But did they ultimately get anything back for those investments?
Yes, they did.
How so?
I was able to do different investments with them.
Okay.
To where, invest in certain things in business.
Okay. Fair enough. Because they say you made about $250,000 by the time you got to high school?
Yeah. Yeah, I was touching, I was getting whatever I wanted. I mean, we were the hot ones. I mean, back then, everything was, and now everybody's doing it. But, back then we were just doing it a clever way.
You got a house out of it at one point?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
You got a house.
I got a house. I got 2 cars.
2 cars.
Yeah.
And a house.
Yeah, I had 2 cars.
This was high school?
Yeah, this was high school, like 9th, 10th grade.
Freshman and sophomore year, you had a house and 2 cars.
Yeah. I had a car before I even had a license. And then I had at the Sidekick, at the Nextel, and I had the Sprint phone. I had like 3 phones going to school with the PSP at Dominguez, like at $300 like every day at school. Like, I was, yeah,
I mean, the hate must have been at an all-time high, at that point. I'm sure the love was crazy, but I'm sure, like, some of the dudes was looking at you like, God damn.
I mean, I looked out.
You looked out? You can't look out for everybody, though.
No, I looked out, but, we was going to Jack in the Box.
Okay.
It was on me after school.
Everyone gets sourdoughs on you. I get you.
Taco Tuesdays.
Taco Tuesday. That's dope, man. I'm happy. I'm happy for you.
I mean,
especially in the situation you were in, I'm sure that was incredible.
I mean, it's survival. It's survival. Yeah. It sounds good, but what's crazy about it is that I didn't really have a really good relationship with my mom. I didn't have the tools growing up with it, right? So I'm so thinking about basketball and just thinking about everything to keep my family, going instead of like I used to be envy of guys like Drew Holiday, Larry Drew, Malcolm Lee, DeMar DeRozan. And I was envied because they had both parents, growing up. So seeing these guys on the weekend and, whether they win or lose, they're getting that support and those tools from both parents that I didn't have, even if I won or lost. We was trying to figure out what my next meal was. But, I never wanted nothing bad to happen. But, those were just the things I was looking at in my life. Like, damn, where's my dad? During times like that. But, I took all that and then I had to make sure I was better than all those guys, every time they saw me every Friday, Saturday.
Yeah.
So, but just some good, competition.